In this video, I've already created the CompSci database on SQL Server, and I created a SQL Server user and a login and a database user, technically, and I made that database user the database owner of my CompSci database. So if you need review on that, you can watch the previous video that I've created. In this video, I'm going to take that CompSci database with the SQL Server user and review how to connect that through the web config and the connection string to your Visual Studio ASP.NET web application. So you can see that I have the Rich Clients classroom demo that we've been working on. I've got it open here. And I'm going to go to the main web config file right there. I already have it open. And I'm going to close this because I don't need it anymore. And I'm going to point out that in the connection string here, for the default connection, that's pointing to ASP.NET DB, which we talked about in class, which is that membership database. And then I have a CompSci connection, and its connection string right here is pointing to my instructor computer in the lab, and that's not where I want it to point. I want it to point here on my local computer and use the SQL Server username and password I created with my CompSci database. So what I want to do is I want to replace this connection string with the one that points to my local database. Well, the easiest way to do that is have the computer figure out what that connection string is. And so I'm going to say View Solution Explorer. Actually, I'm sorry, View Server Explorer. And here's Server Explorer with data connections. I've cheated and I've already created a connection to that database earlier, but I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to right click on Data Connections and say Add Connection. Microsoft SQL Server is the client. I'm going to connect to my local host, which is the default instance of SQL Server on this machine. I'm going to say use SQL Server authentication, and the username I created was CS Karen, spell it right, and the password was CompSci. And when I put those login credentials in, I should see in the dropdown, what you see, the list of databases that are responsive to that username and password, and these are the only ones I can see, so CompSci Karen is right there. I'm going to choose that. So once again, this is the SQL Server login that I created in the previous video to attach to my CompSci database and my password that I created in that previous video. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, create that connection. And there it is right here. Now what I want to do is I want to know what that connection string is. I don't want to have to write that myself. So I'm going to right click on this new connection and go to Properties. And you see in the properties, there's a connection string property here. I'm going to just copy this out. Copy it. And then I'm going to go into my web config, and any place where I'm connecting to that CompSci database, so actually I'm connecting two places. Here, I'm going to replace that connection string, and I'm going to replace the asterisks with my password because it's being very secretive and not showing me the password. And then there happens to be another CompSci connection here that I'm using probably for SQL data sources. And I'm going to just copy that same connection string right in here with my password and save this. Now when I go to my default page, wherever that is, right there, view it in the browser. So you can see this is our home page that comes up. And then when I click on Student Services and I log in, and we'll get rid of that, and I log in with Shannon, then I've accessed my database successfully. I've logged in as Shannon, and I can go to the course list and see all the courses and so forth. So we have successfully connected to our CompSci database, and we're using SQL Server security, and we're all set. Thanks a lot, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me at any time.